We got to Martin's Robert K. Martin's theory.
Okay, structural strain theory. You had not yet talked about research,
No.
science.
No.
And I briefly reviewed the stuff on labeling theory, primary, secondary deviance. Doesn't sound familiar.
Labeling theory is an interaction theory. Yeah. That's all I have.
And primary is the first one, secondary is succeeding. Successive.
Okay, could somebody get the light, please, so we can see the. Okay, let me start off with a review of what we talked about last time, and then I'll take questions in preparation for the quiz. Because this stuff is also going to be on the quiz, so it's helpful to get this out of the way first. All right, so the quiz happening today goes back to anything connected to these three modern social theories. It has nothing about Marx, Weber, Durkheim, except for their connection with these theories. But it will have extensive questions out of this chart. So let's briefly go over it. Remember, functionalism grows out of Durkheim. Its metaphor for understanding society is the human body. Organs fitting together, all performing a function. The most important part of society is culture, family, ideas in our head, values, all that kind of stuff. The strength of this theory is its focus on order and stability. It makes it blind, however. Its weakness is explanation for rapid social change and conflict. Conflict theory is the inverse. Starting with Marx and Weber, the metaphor is war. The most important part of society is power. Conflict, rapid social change is what it's focusing on. That leaves it blind to stability and order. Interaction is a Mead. I'm not testing on Mead. I will talk about him later on in about 3 or 4 weeks or so. It understands society as if it were a whole conversation. Talk, talk, talk. The most social thing real people do. And that's the key for interactional sociology. Real people together. That's what interaction is. That's why it's also a social psychology. It's also why it's considered a micro-sociology. Small groups, not big ones like the macro people of functionalist and conflict theory. Strength is explanation of the micro world, and it is a kind of social psychology. Its weakness, macro. All right, that's a big part of your quiz. Any questions on this? Okay. We've talked about crime and more generally, deviance. Crime in America, is it the worst problem of any country on earth?
No.
No. Is it even the worst problem of any country in the industrialized world? No. Because it's violent crime that is the key to the American crime problem, but only in comparison to other industrialized countries, with the exception of Russia. However, what is there more of? Violent crime in the United States or property crime? Property, okay, yeah.
Which country has the highest rate of crime in the industrialized world?
I'm not sure. It depends on which kind of crime. I know there's been some increases in England in the last few years in property crime. It could very well be England or Australia. Okay, but we're up the top of the top, but we're not unique in that area. It's our violent crime that's the problem. All right, then we started talking about the geographic connection with murder, and particularly violent crime. What part of the country highest rate of violence?
South.
The South. How come? Two major reasons. What are they? Poverty, long-term chronic poverty. That's very important. There's more than one kind of poverty. And what's the second? Culture of violence. Culture of violence. Both of those also apply to the United States more generally. What is probably the biggest single reason for our high rate of murder? If you had to pick one thing, what would it be?
Guns.
Guns. What kind of guns? Handguns, pistols. Yep. Next. Assailant. Known. Most murders take place because people at least know each other. 2, males. Overwhelmingly, most murder and violent crimes are done by males. 3, poverty. 4, ethnicity and race, strongly related to murder. Drugs, gangs, and violence, highly related. 2 major episodes, famous for it, 1980s. What was a drug?
Crack cocaine.
Crack cocaine. What were the ethnicity of the gangs involved in the conflict? African Americans, Latinos. 1920s. New illegal drug. What was it?
Alcohol.
Alcohol. What was the ethnicity of the gangs?
Italian. and
Italians,
Jews.
Irish,
And Jews.
Jews. How come?
Poverty.
Poverty. Same reason as 1980s. All right. So that was the murder stuff. Then we talked about punishment. And severity, certainty, and speed. What's severity?
How bad the crime is punished.
How much it hurts. The injury inflicted by the punishment, the suffering involved. What's certainty?
The chance of you getting
Chance
caught.
of just getting caught. And finally, speed. What's that?
How long it takes you to get caught.
How long does it take you to get caught? All right. Of those 3, overwhelmingly, which one is most important?
Certainty.
Certainty. Good. Talk a little bit about broken windows. Those not in your notes. Broken windows and community-oriented policing. What's broken windows policing?
Bust them for any little thing.
Small acts busted aggressively with the intent of inducing a sense of what in the community? Certainty of punishment. If taken too far, however, what's the risk?
Racial
Isolated.
discrimination.
Alienating the police from the community. At that point, the practice becomes self-destructive. What's the contrast to broken windows policing?
Community oriented.
What is that?
Having the police be in the communities and talking to the people.
That's right. The goal is to root the police in the community, get them out of the patrol car, get them in associations, walk beats, talk to people, and in many cases it may be the opposite strategy of broken windows. You may tolerate some minor acts of criminality with the goal of creating good community relations. Okay, which one is best? Depends on the circumstances. Okay. And then we talked about the theories of deviance, biological, psychological, Freudian. Where does our sociopath come from for Freudian psychology? Superego. And poorly developed superego, allowing what part of the mind to take over?
The ID.
The id. The ID. It's pronounced id.
Oh.
The id. Weak superego. How come you get a weak superego according to Freudian psychology?
Parents.
Abuse. as a
Parents.
child.
Early childhood. Very important. Behaviorism. What's the difference with behaviorism and Freudian psychology?
Once you've learned
All
it
behavior is learned
by the age of 5.
for Freud,
For Freud.
but not for behaviorism. Behaviorism says you learn at 55 the same way you do at 5. That's very important for the theory. You reward behavior, you get more of it. You punish behavior, you get less. Of those two, which is most important? Rewarding behavior. Okay, parents can reward behavior, violence, aggression, theft. But for behaviorists, what other groups can as well? Peers at the age of adolescence, and particularly gags, which are just an exaggerated version of peer influence, in which you have a culture of violence and criminality. All right. Then we talked a little bit about the sociological theory of deviance, structural strain. You've got goals and means, according to Merton, as the most important parts of culture. Somebody who conforms to both the goals and the means of society. What are the goals of American society? Overwhelmingly.
Money.
Money. Means. Education. Excuse me. People who say, yes, I want the money, and yes, I'll go to school, work hard, save my money, and get a good job are called conformists. American culture, however, has a structural strain and inadequacy, poor foundations. It holds out the goal. Most Americans want money, but do all have the same access to the means and getting a good education? No, they don't. Which means the poor particularly are pushed towards innovation. That's somebody who uses unacceptable means to pursue acceptable goals. The opposite of our innovator is called a what? Ritualist. Someone who doesn't care about the goal, but obsessed with the means. Now, when someone who says, I don't want the goals, I don't want the means, and just tunes in, turns on, drops out, hippie, bum, wino, what's Merton's term for it? Retreatist. On the other hand, someone who actively tries to change the culture and replace it with a new one is called what by Merton's terms?
A rebel.
Rebel. Good. Okay, you guys got that. Real quickly, let me review the concept of labeling theory. Labeling theory is an interactionist theory of deviance. It says there's two kinds of deviance. The kind most people recognize, the kind that sociology defines as violation of a social norm. What is that called by labeling theory? If it's just the simple violation of a norm, what kind of deviance, according to labeling theory, is that? Primary deviance. Now, they distinguish, however, and say there's something much more important called secondary deviance. What is that?
Continuing.
Not just continuing.
But being labeled.
Bingo! Being labeled for it. They know, we know, you are a loser, you are a druggie, you are a slut, you fill in the blank. Again, it's talk. Real people talking amongst each other, labeling. And a process takes place where society views you as the label. We don't see into your heart, we don't see into your soul. All we know is the label. And for these labeling theorists, the irony is not only does society view you this way, but you too begin to see yourself in terms of the label. It's called internalizing the label. All right, that's labeling theory. Any questions about that?
Yeah. Is it similar to what was it? The self-fulfilling prophecy?
Kind of. It's sort of similar to that, except for it's being seen here not as a psychological process, but a social one.
Okay.
People look at you a certain way. It's the power of the group over us. It's the key for labeling theory. But not in the macro sense. In a very micro sense. People looking at your friends, your family members, your peers, begin to see you in terms of that label. So do you. Yeah.
What was primary theory?
Just violation of a social norm. Primary deviance for labeling. Okay.